for 8,000 miles, and it's the distance I covered driving this Cullinan. A lot of things have changed in this car, and today I'm gonna show and tell you about everything we changed and survived in this Rolls. Let's go. When I had to pick a color for this car, first of all I thought about my favorite golden color, because it has a long history in my life, and most of my cars were painted golden. Both of my BMWs were golden. My X was golden, same as my M5, so I wanted to use it as an element for the design of this car too. We tried like 1,000 of different combinations, but all these variants simply did not fit, so I couldn't pick any of that. But also, I couldn't leave this car just black, cause there are a lot of other black cars all around. So I decided to make something really unusual and stylish. And the main thing, I have to like it. So what does Cullinan actually mean? This is the name of the biggest diamond in the world. And since it has something to do with the power and strength of nature, that's what I thought. What on earth can represent us, the energy the nature can provide us? And the answer is simple. It's the lightning. The golden lightning. And later, as a sign, I saw a golden BMW on TV, and they called it a golden lightning. So it was clear. We have to do it. The golden lightning. First of all, we had to find enough of golden car wrap, of the best quality possible, and cover the whole car with it. And after it became golden, we took a transparent wrap and printed it black, leaving special gaps for these small lightnings. And then we covered the golden rolls with it and got it laminated. About 11 years ago, I had a car, a BMW M5, and same 11 years ago, someone stole it from me. The car had the full insurance from Ingo's Truck Insurance Company. It had to cover a little bit less than the full cost of the car, and at that time the car costed me 3 million rubles, and the insurance could cover like 2.5 million. And what normal man who lost his favorite car, the one he loved so much, would do? I'm sure he would buy the same car he had. And that's what I did. And this Ingo's Truck Insurance Company was aware that it was not me who stole the car, and they knew I had nothing to do with this crime. And later we won the case in European Court of Human Rights, where it was confirmed and proved that my arrest was illegal, same as all this case. We proved it all. But this insurance company, though they knew it from the very beginning, still they blamed it on me, saying that this guy is a swindler, that Davidich stole a car from himself. So, you know, Eric bought a car for 3.5 million, then bought an insurance for 300,000 more, so now we've got 3.8 million. And in 3 or 4 months, according to the Ingo's Truck version, I stole it from myself to get 2.3 million for insurance. Because I'm a f***ing moron. And that's why in court, I asked the judge just to send me to the asylum, because only a mentally demented f***er can spend almost 4 millions to get 2 instead, the f***ing crime of the century. So I didn't buy any insurance for this car yet, and I have no idea what company I'll choose for that, and what company can possibly be good to work with. But that won't be Ingo's Truck, that's for sure. Just look at my story and imagine the situation when something happens to you and Ingo's Truck owes you money. I can assure you, you're gonna have lots of problems. And with the way our courts work and how they can twist the laws, you will never win the case. In the end, you're gonna be the criminal instead. And this insurance company will never act humanly and decently towards their customer. So now Ingo's Truck Insurance Company put me in a blacklist for other insurance companies, so I couldn't insure any of my cars. My friends say I can insure it from my relatives or from my company and still insure it in Ingo's Truck again, but I will never ever work with this company again. Because these guys are f***ers and they treat you like f***ers. crackers, and I felt it and survived it as no one before. What was the plan? There was no plan, because we just left Moscow and drove to Europe, towards Minsk, but we didn't have any particular destination point. By the way, we remembered that I have a friend, Kostya. He's a very cool guy. We used to play tanks online together for like 7 years. So I decided to visit him. And he lives in Kaliningrad, the city that is separated from all other Russia. So already in the morning we arrived to Kaliningrad. And to get there, we had to drive through whole Lithuania, because this is the farthest West Russian city. So we spent our night there. And the next day, we had such a crazy party that the whole city could feel it. Please let us go. And after that, we moved to travel around Europe. This car drove us everywhere. We've been to Munich, we have been to Stuttgart, then we drove to Paris, then to Geneva, and later to Zurich. And what surprised me, that this car, having a V12 and moving at about 120 or 130 kilometers per hour, it consumed only 11.5 liters for 100. It's about 20 miles for a gallon at the speed of 80 miles per hour. For an everyday regular use, this car easily deals with absolutely every task a human being may provide it. It magically behaves on Autobahn. It stands perfectly on the road. And if someone may think that this car is shaky or unstable, there's absolutely nothing like that. It has a very comfortable, super soft suspension, and it almost sails the road, but at the same time, it sharply keeps the straight traction you want, and that's a very important thing. And it was one of the main reasons why I decided to choose this particular car. I'd like to mark the behavior of this car on winter tires, and with a stock clearance, not the lowered one. This car drove through Monaco serpentines, and it was just magnificent. It turns amazingly, never rocks, and, moving through several turns at first, rolls to the side a little bit, and makes it very slowly, with no sharp movements, and that's very comfortable. But then, it finds the perfect angle to stop, and the suspension doesn't let the car lean further on, and doesn't let it do any unexpected movement. But when you pass a series of turns, the car understands you are on a serpentine, and it adapts and stops rolling at all. It begins to turn more sharply, standing straight on the road. It don't try to lean anymore. When you go into a fast right turn, it will assist you and keep the right side of the car a little bit up. I can remember only a 217 Mercedes Escapade doing that. And so does this car. And when the pandemic began, we've got into trouble, because it was clear that Poland is going to close their borders. And at night, at 12 o'clock, Poland will be closed from all ends. And at that moment, we've been in Munich, and very fast, at 7 o'clock in the morning, we left it. First I wanted to go to Vane, and from there to get to Prague, which would lead us straight to Poland, and through Poland we would go to Minsk, and that's almost at home. But when we came to Vane and got to their borders, it turned out that they were already closed, so we had to run the different direction through the Autobahn at about 230 km per hour. Our top speed was about 250 km per hour, that's about 155 miles per hour, and it was the highest speed I could afford. Why couldn't I drive faster than that? Because these are winter tires, and they were not designed to drive faster than 240 km per hour. So they didn't let us through on the first border, and they turned us back on the second. And we had to go back to Munich, drive around the whole Czech Republic, and only through Dresden we could get to Poland border. And there was an endless traffic jam when we arrived. When we passed this jam, we had only 3 hours to drive through whole Poland, without any sleep or rest. And we did it. Why I say we? Because I met a guy on Audi, and we made a kind of a race on Autobahn, speeding towards Belarus. And sometimes it was problematic, because Germans and Polacks were driving in the left lane much slower, but they didn't want to let us through. And we drove really fast, because we had to hurry up. And after some time of this race, on such high speed, I started to feel some pushes in my braking system. When I pressed the brake pedal, I felt my wheel kinda knocks into my hands. And when you brake like this several times, driving over 240 km/h, the braking system heats and the geometry of a braking disc may deform, and it starts to knock, and it goes through the whole car and to your steering wheel. And that was unpleasant. But the worst happened when I ran out of my brake pads, and they were completely dead. And I mean it, they really came to their end. So when I pressed it, there were no brakes, and that was the most unpleasant thing I faced with. Because when you drive such an expensive car, and you have no brakes, it pisses you off so much. Of course, I understand that this car was not made for sport, but it upsets me that they didn't think over such a situation. Didn't it came to their minds that a man in such a car can be led to the airport, or simply give some stress to this braking system? Didn't they work such situations at all? And later on we're gonna return to this question, because I solved this problem myself, and I solved it radically. So we crossed the Polish border, we rushed through Poland and left it. 13 minutes before it got closed, and when I was driving through Belarus, I could finally breathe calmly. But I couldn't even enjoy this win, because we were exhausted and we had to have some sleep. And right at that moment, we found out that Russia closes borders too, and we have to race the time again, because if we are late, we stay at Belarus. So again, I floored the gas pedal and I didn't release it till home. This race to Moscow took 29 hours, and for these 29 hours I drove 3,100 kilometers at over 200 km/h. No other car in the world would never let me do that. Check this out. The Le Mans race takes 24 hours at the speed over 300 km/h, and I had to cross borders and passport controls. It was 29 hours for 3,100 kilometers. The Le Mans race takes 24 hours for over 5,000 kilometers. This is the distance the racers covered during 24 hours of Le Mans. So I can say that me and this car had our own home Le Mans. So I still had some problems to solve. First, what do I do with my wheels? Because I was not satisfied with the stock ones. And I would not recommend anyone to overpay for 22-inch wheels for your Rolls. Don't do that. Just buy it with the stock 21-inch wheels. Do not overpay. And then just make custom wheels, the ones you want for your own taste. That would be the better investing of your money. Just believe me. The stock 22-inch wheels are simply toyish. They do not fit this car at all. It may look okay in the picture, but in real life, it looks silly. That's why it took me a long time to find some good wheels for this car, right until I met Leonid and his company. He's a very cool and talented guy, and we designed these wheels for a while. We've got through many variations, sorted lots of references, before we found and created the concept I wanted. And I wanted only 24-inch wheels.
A driver don't pick the car pick the driver.
When it was done and installed to the car, it started to feel a little bit different. I would say that the work of the suspension consists of two steps. The first is the moment when you feel your wheel runs into the pit or any other roughness on the road. And the second is the smoothness of reaction of the car. So what have changed with these 24-inch wheels? The smoothness of the car never go anywhere and stayed same soft, same gentle and tender. But the reaction for pits became more sharp, but only a little bit. It didn't change that much, just a little bit. So I like this balance. Did I feel any changes in handling? Yes, I did. It was very good before, and now it became a little more sensitive. But you barely can feel it. I can't say I'm gonna use this feature, cause I bought this car not for street racing, but for comfortable and calm driving. These 24-inch tires we also had to search for some time, and in the end we ordered from Amsterdam. That's actually how it came to our mind. We've been just smoking dope for 24 hours and thought, now Davidich needs some 24-inch wheels. And finally, it was the time to upgrade my braking system. I came to Tronic Crew, the guys who made the carbon ceramic brakes for my golden BMW. So we decided to make the same system for this car too. We put here a 440mm front disc and 410mm for the back. The fronts are from Lamborghini Urus. And these are the 10-piston front calipers. And also we put 4-piston calipers from the back. And also we put a separate caliper for a handbrake, which stayed stock. And now this car brakes like some alien technology vehicle. What can be better than a Rolls-Royce? Only two Rolls-Royces, especially when you need to make an experiment. After we have changed this braking system, I wanted to test it and to see the difference between stock and these carbon ceramic brakes with my own eyes. And to do this experiment, we need to drive to the highway and accelerate to 125 miles and simultaneously hit the brakes till the full stop. Okay, I reached the speed. You ready? Now we're gonna brake. The difference between stock and carbon ceramic brakes was two car bodies without any warm-ups. That's just a perfect result. But the main thing is not the distance we win, but the fact that this braking system is not gonna overheat even if we do the same test for 50 times. And the stock brakes would be already dead by this moment. So here I drive and think, why did Rolls-Royce company decided to save their money, sacrificing the safety of their customers, and put these cheap brakes here that began to overheat and damage at the speed over 230 km per hour. Thought about it a lot. And you know what? I cannot blame them, because if I tell them, guys, I drove this car on Autobahn at the speed over 240 km per hour and freaked out everyone in the left line, they will say, wait a moment. Do you understand this is not a sports car? And they're gonna be right. It is not a sports car in all meaning of this word, and it was made for a different way of driving, and it is different. But it doesn't mean this car may have shitty brakes, and actually they are not that shitty. These brakes broke down, but the use was intense, and this is a big car. It's just me, the only and unique crazy customer the Rolls-Royce company has, who installed a carbon ceramic braking system on this car. So, if you, my friends, the head of Rolls-Royce company, will ever want to propose your customers a cool carbon ceramic brake system, call me. In fact, this hitch can pull 5,500 pounds, or 2.5 tons. But we have attached here almost a 10,000 pounds trailer, and had a ride with no problems. My old man once told me an interesting phrase. There are two things in the world a man must never be angry with. It's your car and your woman. 'Cause you choose yourself. What disadvantages I found in this car for all the time I own it? First one are the brakes for sure. And what upsets me is that the braking system we have on this car, it's the performance pack from BMW. I mean, 520D BMW Performance has the same brakes we get on this Rolls-Royce for 540,000 bucks. And that is frustrating, because if they erase the BMW Performance logo and print a double R there instead, how can it become twice expensive? In every Rolls-Royce Cullinan there is such a thing. If you lower your driver's seat, and it's the driver's seat only, so when you put it down into the lowest position, you have this creak. And this sound appears only in the lowest position of a driving seat. And if you put it from the lowest position, even for 5 millimeters up, this noise disappears. But this is a feature they have in absolutely every Cullinan, with no exceptions. And that's another disadvantage. And here's one more. The thing is that the back windows have two positions, same as front ones. You can just lower your window by holding or press it once and it will do all the job automatically. And in the back, this automatic mode don't work, but our mechanics have fixed it. Also, the navigation system refused to show us the traffic jams, and we fixed that too. Any other disadvantages of this car simply do not exist. And even those I mentioned are fully cured and fixed. So now, it is the most perfect car, according to Davidich. I love this car so much, and I get so much pleasure from every single mile that I drive in this car. That, my friends, it is impossible to tell you through this screen. What thoughts and plans for this Cullinan I have? Theoretically, you can firmware it for about 1,000 horsepower, and you'll have something like 9 or 1,200 of torque. But you know what, friends? This car is so cool, and it already has so much power, that I simply never floor the gas pedal. Not because it won't help, but because there is no such a situation where I can possibly need that. It has so much torque that here I just slightly touch the accelerator, and we already left and forgot everyone behind. And we are in our own space. I feel so much joy from the tune of this engine and this transmission, and from the way they are balanced to work together, that I don't even want to make any chip tuning for this car. Yes, I wanted to upgrade this transmission, and we can do that easily, but still I'm not gonna do that yet. We can do that, like, in a blink of an eye, if I want to. But right now, there is no need to do that, and at the moment, I enjoy this balance and the stock engineering Rolls-Royce made for me. What do I do now? I'm looking for some body kit, because in general, I do not like all these kits, and I don't want to redo the whole car. The only thing I would like to have is some upper spoiler and middle spoiler in the back, and a custom rear bumper, maybe the front one too, and the side skirts. And now I search for some company that can not only design and create all that, but also do that in the best quality and materials, and the idea, because I want to understand what people can provide with their own thoughts and their own unique vision, and it really must be a unique thing. Because I don't want to install some shit on this beautiful car. Besides the fact that we lowered the clearance of this car for 30 millimeters, I have a confession to make. I became some kind of a stancer. Wherever I come, I put my wheels straight and switch the suspension into the lowest position. So I send my regards to all the stancers in Russia and all over the world. The interior is so cool and cozy that I got used to it just in a minute. Here inside I feel myself like in my own little tree house. I simply love it. Can you hear this turn signal? Talking about sounds here, some people ask me on Instagram, Davidich, what about the sound of the exhaust? It's just perfect, guys, because there's none. There's simply nothing. There is no exhaust sound, nor hot, nor cold. You're simply hearing nothing inside here. And you can call me an old f***, but I enjoy it. I don't need any sound here. The loudness is for those who need to prove something. Here, you don't prove anything. You just drive it. You just press this pedal and enjoy it. There's a 63 GLE before us. He has the whole life ahead, and he may show and prove something to somebody if he wants. But here, you don't have to prove anything. Besides all this crazy trip to Europe, I stayed satisfied with its fuel consumption on the highway. But in the city, if you drive calm and follow the rules, this full tank is enough for 600 kilometers or 370 miles, and that is incredible. And you have to remember that it's a V12 and it's a 6.75 liters. That's crazy. You see that Honda accent? This is the price of our back hitch. Oh. This car is a good one. It's cast Stinger. We can get it for our multimedia system. And for our two side mirrors, we can get that Renault Logan. And they will still owe us money. Very soon we're gonna lottery my old golden BMW, get some money for our new project, and hit some problems. Cause we will have to find the fastest and the most evil car for Davidich. And this car will have to satisfy all the other aspects. So, what are we choosing from? BMW M8. I adore this bitch. Simply love it. Hope it's not gonna disappoint me when we shoot it for a review. Porsche Taycan. I like it a lot, and I'm really looking forward to test it and can't wait to get inside and drive it fast. And also we consider about Lamborghini Evo. And we'll see what else we're gonna have. Right now we have 3 cars. Leave your opinion in comments below. What car should I buy next? Some people may think that after Davidich has bought a Rolls-Royce, he became old. We have some problems over here. Our engine overheating. There's lots of smoke. Holy motherfucker. The shooting is over. Typical American shit. I say it every time. Goodbye. This was a test drive from Davidich. It's D3. And I just told you about my most favorite car. See you later, friends. Once I have already said, if you had no bicycle when you were a kid, and now you have a Bentley, you still had no bicycle when you were a kid. It means that there are lots of people who had a poor childhood, and they didn't have a lot of things other kids had, toys or clothes, whatever, and their parents simply could not afford a bicycle for their child. But then this kid grows up, and he's a self-made man, but that kid still lives inside. And that's me. And I don't have a Bentley. I've got a Rolls-Royce.